Behind. I got you. 200, killed him.
Hey guys, what's up? Jedi here, and today we're going to be taking a close look at the trio I would probably say is the best in NA East right now. I'm of course talking about Acorn, Jahq, and Slacks. And if you don't agree with me on this, just look at their placements. The numbers don't lie, and with the way they're playing, they could very well end up as two-time FNCS champions. Unfortunately, Epic's rules do push them right in the grand final, so they don't get to play the weeks and get the practice they'll want. And on top of that, I hear elite scrims are pretty shambles right now with people going outside to watch baseball games. Sheesh! Jokes aside though, leave a like on this video and subscribe to my channel with noties on, and let's find out what makes this trio so dominant. I'm going to start with early game, which I normally might not do for a trio, but these guys get a huge advantage from their off spawn, and it's just not something I can ignore. And yes, I am talking about the slurp cannon. For those of you who don't know, the slurp cannon is basically the bandage cannon from previous seasons, but it shoots chug splashes that can heal your entire team. Yeah, you can see why this might be a little OP. Acorn gets the slurp cannon, and he does this without even leaving Slurpee. You do need a little luck if you want to copy him though, because he does get 3 saves and the god quest from the NPC, which is the 200 health or shield one. I mean, it's just so stupidly easy. All this combined gets Acorn 600 gold, and with this, he's able to buy the slurp cannon. If you're not as lucky though, you can still head down to Shantytown just down to the left and complete some quests there as well, but you'll still need a safe if you want the cannon. Trust me on this, as I spent a lot of time trying to get it. So the slurp cannon is a super OP item, but it's not the reason Acorn, Jahq, and Slacks play so well. I'm actually going to jump into Endgame because there's a lot of things they do really well there, but before I get to that, let's check out an example of how they get surge and kills in the mid game.
Oh no. Oh no. I don't know.
Wait, shh.
They're here.
I hear something. Coming through my door.
There? No.
Yeah, it's that easy. On a real note though, I didn't find their mid game really worth looking into, because their main focus seemed to be getting in past edge but not to the center, and then basing up a few layers to say hi, which is something I'll get a lot more into later. Now let's talk about endgame, and there's a lot to break down here. The first is that Acorn tarps and leads the trio, but they don't rely on him to make rotates or to actually even lead. Slacks and Jahq can take over at any time and tarp super well, which is a skill your full trio should have. It's okay to have a designated tarper, but you still need to know how to lead if necessary. Moving on, let's talk about their endgame strat, which is basically to go for height. They usually try to do this at some point during first moving, like their high takes were just really simple. They just get ahead in first moving, crank up, just the classic textbook retake. Of course, the classic retake doesn't always work, but to keep height an option, Acorn usually tarps on a pretty high layer, and they'll constantly look up to see if they can get a beam or find an opportunity to take height. To help you bring this into your gameplay, I've made a short list. So you want to stay ahead in first moving, which isn't always the way to go since height can technically be taken from behind in the back of zone, but staying ahead is just generally a good thing to do overall. Just like Acorn does, you want to stay on a pretty high layer. Be aware of the high team when you do this, since a good or stacked high team will be spraying second height and other high layers, and you don't want to be forced into a shambles position. The next thing is that as a trio, you should always have height in mind. Take moments to look up and make sure you calm if you spot opportunities. Good moments to take height are if they're fighting other teams for it, or if you get a fat beam or knock on one of their players. Obviously, communication is super important here because you all need to go for height together. But what if you go for it and it doesn't work out? The God Trio does have the strats for this as well. Basically, if you don't get destroyed or forced into like a really shambles position with no mats on low ground, don't give up on height. In this clip, Slacks and the boys are bullied off of height, but they still want it, so they break out the other high team and get some knocks and end up on high ground. I think at this point a lot of players, even one of them, was saying let's drop off of height, let's give it up, but Slacks and Acorn I think didn't give up, and they looked back and they managed to get it back, which is a total game changer. Alright, I'm going to stop talking about height now, because unless you're a super dominant team, you can't always expect to have it, so you'll probably end up playing most of your games on mid or low ground. For this, the trio strategy is simple. Acorn full tarps ahead with Jahq staying close behind. Notably, Slack stays far back a lot of the time and almost plays as a solo in the tarps Acorn has built. Slacks himself is super good at finding opportunities to get refreshes or kills, and the full tarps provide better angles and more coverage than a cheap tarp would. I just want to take a second here and highlight a really good strat from Slacks. In this scenario, there's a team on the same layer and he recognizes where they're headed, so he goes for a far wall, takes it and edits on the other team, destroying them. This far wall strat is really cool and I haven't seen it used very often in Endgame, so go try it out for yourselves and let me know what you guys think in the comments below. The last thing I'm going to cover today is refreshes. This might not be anything special, but when they go for refreshes, Acorn, Jahq, and Slacks play together. They almost never go for kills as a solo, and when they psycho kids, they're usually just full spraying a wall, even up close. Playing together like this basically allows him to win almost any endgame fights, because if you think about it, when two players jump into a solo's box, who's really gonna win, right? So even if they lose a teammate, they usually get the refresh they need, and this allows the team as a whole to get much further in the game and gain more points. A big part of this is also having pumps out as well, and I've talked a lot about this in the past, so I'm not going to dig too deep here, but basically having your pumps out and letting your teammates do the edits and taking the walls can help you win a lot of the team fights in endgame. But that's it for my analysis of what makes Acorn, Jahq, and Slacks so good. If you're going to learn anything from this video, it should be to play as a team and to play together. These guys do everything together like this, and it's a big part of why they're dominating. Team chemistry is honestly more important than you think, so make sure you develop that with your teammates. But thank you guys for watching, and be sure to leave a like and subscribe to my channel for more content just like this, and also use code JEDI2X in the Fortnite item shop to support me if you'd like. Thanks guys, as always, and peace.